Do you believe that? If you don't, I'm telling you it's true. I've met plenty of them, and there's going to be more, because that's the way that our nation is going, unless we start to change things and we can teach them. So I want to teach you some of these lessons that you can learn yourselves, but also that we're going to learn to teach others. Okay? So this is Believe the Bible, and this would be like a precursor to like that red booklet that Christian has over here. This, Back to the Bible. That was, taking somebody to the Bible, telling them about where we get authority in the church, and then how the church is organized and how we worship and all that, and then how to be saved. Well, if somebody doesn't believe in the Bible, you can't take them to the Bible first, right? You've got to take them to some of these logical things. So basically, you're trying to get them to believe in at the very least, a higher being. They don't have to believe in the God of the Bible just yet, but if they just believe that there is a higher being, is kind of what is being said here. And you use reason. We use reasoning as we do it. So we are going to find some Bible verses, but they're really just used to state some principles. Okay? So questions for you to answer. Do you believe the material world had a beginning? Now you answer yes or no based on your thoughts. This is what they would be answering, right, as you teach them. For me, it's yes, but maybe your person says no, right? Maybe they just thought it always existed. Somebody believes that. We can prove why that's not the case. This next one says, do you believe the material world created itself from nothing? So kind of getting deeper into this idea. Well, if we have stuff, material, things, it had to come from somewhere. Some people, oddly enough, believe that it only happened out of nowhere, literally nothing. Do you believe it's possible that there was an energy, quotes, in the beginning that cannot be created or destroyed, that could have been responsible, right? Could have, at least we're trying to get them to see the possibility of this, responsible for creating the world. We'll talk about the answers to these things as we go, but this is where you would, try to get their answers. And again, if you're studying with someone and you already know these, then the answers are going to be what? They're going to be maybe no here, I don't believe it had a beginning, or it just created itself out of nowhere. Whatever it might be, their answers might be different, and that's okay. We're not trying to get them to answer anything specific here. Would you be open to the possibility that this energy could be called God? Maybe they say yes, maybe they say no. I do think it's still, something to, all right, well, let's keep going, right? So we have Genesis 1 and verse 1, which you all know. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So the Bible explains a beginning for the earth and the heavens, right? Or just all things. That's the idea. Let's start with this, the next page, number 3. Hebrews chapter 3 and verse number 4. This was a verse we learned this summer. For every house is built by someone, but he who built all things is God. Now, we know that from this verse, but can we find that out without that verse? Yes. Because we can look at this building, or perhaps you have like a favorite building. I'm an architecture person. Is there a building that you people like? No? Anything special that you've seen? Like maybe a cathedral with a giant roof? No? Just one that has a roof. So any building with a roof. Okay.
A barn.
A barn? Yeah. Again, that's what you like, so that's fine. So, but did a barn just happen out of nowhere? Did a building with a roof just happen out of nowhere?
It could have blown over from a wind. My grandma's neighbor's house had one fly into her backyard. That was a tiny barn.
The whole house?
No,
Okay,
barn.
but the whole thing. But okay, so where did it come from though? Before that?
Yeah.
Somebody had to build it.
No, they figured.
No. The barn was built. You see where I'm getting at? At some point, it had to have a beginning. And so I'm just telling you, we've never seen a tornado create some building, right? That doesn't happen. It's not going to happen. It may carry a building that's already existing somewhere else. I believe you. That's true. But we're talking about how did the building start? Well, so does every house have a builder? What would you answer? Yes, it has to be. It doesn't happen out of nowhere. Isn't it impossible for a house to build itself? by itself? Yes. The answer is yes. What do you mean, no?
The question's a really trick question.
It's not a trick question. So wouldn't it be equally absurd? What does absurd mean? Strange, crazy, wild, just impossible. Okay? Wouldn't it be wild to think that a baby, an infant, could build a house? Could a baby build a house? Come on, we have to be honest with ourselves on these things so that we can help others be honest with themselves on these things. Even if you're starting to think, well, I'm not entirely sure. That's okay to not be sure. We're going through this for a reason. Again, to help you and then to help others. So it would be crazy. So basically, why is it crazy to have a baby, to think a baby could build a house? Because they have a really hard time building with Lego and, magnet tiles in and of itself. Well, we're talking about a real house. Like a fully developed house. It can't happen. So, because the baby doesn't have the ability, right? We might say the baby has no ability or little ability or not enough intelligence, perhaps, to create the house. We're talking about, it says infant, so we're talking about something, it's not even talking or walking or anything. So then, yes, well, we're talking about even younger than Kellen. Kellen's walking and talking. He can build a house with magnet tiles at least. All right, so can a house appear out of nothing? Yes or no? Everybody? No, cannot, right? Is it possible that a house has always existed? You look at a house and you just think, man, it just had to be there. Even a house built out of a rock or maybe perhaps within a cave somewhere, it's like, oh, that cave looks awfully like a house that looks pretty carved in. Well, somebody had to carve it in there, right? It didn't just always exist. That's impossible. So it's not possible. Must the builder of the house be greater in ability and power than the house? Or you might say intelligence and power, right? They need the intelligence to do it and the power to do it. Yes. You have to have someone powerful enough and smart enough to build a house. So, if a house requires a builder, and you think about the house as compared to the universe, which one is more complex? Should be an easy question to answer. The universe, right? Everything else in the world, we can't create a universe, even if we tried. And so, is it possible that the universe would also require a builder? Yes or no? These are largely going to be yes or no questions just to try to get them to answer. They may say unsure, and that's, we might have to talk about these things a little bit. Do you have questions on this so far? I don't want us to just keep going because, again, this is for your learning and to be teaching someone else. Do you feel confident that you could teach someone at this moment about what we just went over? No, not quite? Mostly yes. All right, so what's the main point? Stanford, how would you maybe reiterate if someone wasn't quite understanding? How would you reiterate the point, the main point of this section?
That anything you want to put in place of a house could be computer, car, whatever else. Say that doesn't just pop into existence out of nowhere. It had to have something that built it, that created it, and that, you may see some simple creations by animal
Right.
level, but humans are the only ones that can really create something that caliber,
Right.
which, again, that would mean we're greater than what we created, so therefore, something as great as the universe has to have something greater than it.
Right. Has to be created. Has to have something beyond it. Yes, very good. So, and there's other examples. What are some other examples that we could use besides a house and besides a universe, right? Again, you might use other examples to try to help somebody. What other examples? A book? And the words that, go with them. So, yeah, the book itself. And or even just the making of a book, right? It takes a lot. Yes, that's true. So, a book. Anything else? Anything you want to think of? So,
Maybe just an engine.
yes. So an engine, very complex, right? It didn't just happen out of nowhere. Anybody who's actually honest with themselves and with you is going to say, that's right, an engine just didn't happen. Animals didn't create an engine. That doesn't happen. I was going to say a watch. That's kind of a normal one because you have very intense mechanisms inside the watch, especially like the old-time watches, but even digital watches. There's a lot that goes into those. So yes, books, watches, engines, and then of course humans, people. You ever seen somebody with like a robotic arm or something like that, where they lost theirs? Well, they've developed this, arm that can do exactly what God, created our stuff to do, and it took them years and years and years and years and years and years and lots of different people to make it work, and yet God just did it by speaking. Humans is a great example. I mean, just every little part of our body, you can examine the eye, and you can go forever and ever about how detailed and complex the eye is, or, the arm itself and all the veins and vessels and muscles and everything that's connected. God designed it that way. So, all right, basically, design demands a designer, right? It has to have that. So, some questions. Every effect must have a sufficient cause. Is the existence of the universe greater than the existence of a house? What would you say? It's greater, right? It's more complex. It's more impossible than a house. Do you believe that it would be impossible for the universe to create itself? Again, these are questions you would be asking them, so what would y'all say? Impossible, yes. I know, it's kind of confusing. Do you believe it would be impossible? Yes, it's impossible. Wouldn't it be impossible for the universe to have come from nothing? Correct. Yes. Wouldn't it be equally impossible for a man to have created the universe? Has any man that you know of or woman created a universe? Hasn't happened. Won't happen. It's impossible. So, equally impossible, yes. Must the builder of the universe come from outside the universe itself? So, let's say you and I are building with Lego or with clay. I used to love to build with clay and things like that. Are you clay? Unless your name is Clay. All right, no. So you're not clay. So you're above the clay, right? You have a mind, intelligence, and you're making the clay. That's God. God is outside. We're the clay. We're all clay. So now you're all named Clay, just by the way. All right. So builder must come from outside the universe is yes. Must the builder of the universe be greater in ability and power than the universe? Yes, right? Couldn't just be a baby or an infant idea. Must the builder of the universe be older than the universe? Wouldn't that make sense that you come before that? And so, of course, the clay itself might be older if, we're using that analogy. But when we make it into something, then that creation is now nothing, or now something, and it's younger. So, yes, the builder's got to be older. Does the fact we apply a date to the universe, or a time, right, imply that it had a beginning, and therefore it has not always existed? What year is it? 2026. 2026 compared to what? What happened 2026 years ago, give or take? Jesus' birth, we think is really more like 4 BC, but close enough, right? So they changed it later. All right. Now, what happened before that? How far do we go back beyond in the BC scale? Do you know? At least that. At least. So some think, 6,000 years up till now. You could go back to the very beginning. So it's really hard to tell. I would say at the most you're going to give the idea of like 10,000. But because atheists or people that don't believe in God, right, or maybe they're just not sure, they're going to say, well, it's year 2026. You start to make them question, what does that mean? Right? It has to imply that it has not always existed, that there has to be a thing. Another way that we look at this is If it is not possible for material things to be eternal, is it possible for a non-material power like a mind or spirit to be eternal? It's a little bit of a confusing question. Um, do we understand what's being said? How would we answer? Is it possible for a mind or a spirit to be eternal? Yes. Can you or I see the spirit or the mind? If you were to, when I'm dead, you take my brain and you open it up, would you find my mind in there? Wouldn't happen, right? Would you find my soul, my spirit? No, it doesn't exist in the same way as a physical, as the material world. And so when we understand the material world can't be eternal, but things in the spiritual realm certainly could be, right? Remember, we're looking at just trying to convince somebody of the possibility that this is so. All right, so if we called that power, that mind, God, is it possible that God could be eternal and the builder of the universe? The goal is you want them to say yes, right? If not, you're going to have to, keep moving a little bit. But so Psalm 19, verse number 1, says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament, or expanse, shows his handiwork. So, why does he have a picture of these planets up here? So it's one of the, the heavens, and it's an expanse, right, where God put things. And what do they do? What do they show for us? Do you see design within the universe? Who likes the universe here? I do. So you like looking at it, you like seeing the stars and all that good stuff. It's okay if you don't. But anyways, there's great design in all of these things, right? You have it orbiting in all these different ways. You have some of these planets with all kinds of different moons. It couldn't just happen out of nowhere. So he's saying from Psalm 19:1, these things God made so that it would tell us about him, right? That's the idea, that we can look out and see things and see design, and therefore we know that there has to be a God. There has to be a higher power.
You know
Okay.
what we would have?
Yes,
Find
go.
if we cut open your head? An empty bag of marble.
An empty bag of marble. That's true. I like that.
No, it would be
No, it's
smooth
true.
brain. I just wanted to know
Smooth
it's-
brain.
you know
Yes,
it's
yes,
smooth brain?
yes. It means dumb.
I learned that with somebody from Germany.
Yes, supposedly, and I think it's true, but
You are very
the more wrinkles you have in your brain, that's where you're learning things. Is kind of the
Oh,
idea,
you're
something
like
along
an
those lines.
actor,
So,
like car.
yeah.
And not
Yeah,
Polished.
I do. Yeah, I'll be smooth brain. All right. So summary questions, page next 7. Oh, I skipped something. Down. This way? No. What do you mean?
Every design must have a designer.
Oh, I didn't have 6. I don't have 6 on here. You're right. Unless I have it later on somewhere. Oh no. I don't. Okay, well, here, I got it here, so let's go back. Go to page 6. Yeah, you're right. Alright, 6. Can't speak. Okay, every design must have a designer. Wouldn't it be possible, here's another example, for a camera to build itself? Impossible, yes. Can a camera appear from nothing? No. Does the existence of a camera demand that it came from something? Yes. Wouldn't the creation of a camera require someone superior and exterior, right, above and outside of, as the creator? Yes. Does the camera demonstrate complex design? Yes. Wouldn't it be absurd to believe a camera could be created by an explosion in a parts factory? Let's say you had all the parts to make a camera, and you said, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to put them all in this factory, and we're going to blow the factory up, and when we get that, it'll just make a camera. Can you believe that's even possible? I know you know the answer is no. Not possible, right? Explosions make things worse, not better. Tornadoes make things worse, not better. All right, so
What if you're trying to dig a hole with a tornado, dig it in for you?
right, in some cases maybe it's better, but it still doesn't prove our point, right? It's a good question. All right, wouldn't it be absurd? We already did that. Is the human eye greater than the camera? We talked about the eye. I guess I was just looking ahead. Is it greater than a camera? Yes, it's greater. It's better. They are still like as good of cameras as we have today on our phones and everything, which we have some amazing cameras. And even then, you get the real cameras from real photographers who go and do. They've got like 50 megapixels and all this stuff. Well, they can't even compare to the eye. They can't even compare to your eyes. All right. If a camera requires a superior and exterior creator, would the human eye also require the same thing? Yes. Okay, so thank you for that. Summary questions. Does design require a designer? Yes, it has to be. This is really just, I think, the most basic to get somebody to understand. It's the most logical thing. And all these examples we're using, and here's some examples here, right? I don't know what even some of these things are. Was that a protractor on top? A compass there, some kind of knife thing, a spear. And what is this?
A measuring scale of some kind.
Measuring scale. Yeah, I don't even know. A radio. I mean, whatever it is. It's complex.
A radio?
All right, does the universe demonstrate characteristics of design? Answer this. Does the universe demonstrate characteristics of design? Yes, right? The water cycle, the orbits of the planets around the sun, the way in which, gravity is formed on the earth, all those things. All right, does the human body demonstrate characteristics of design? Yes. Therefore, would it be reasonable, right, that you're just trying to get them to consider, it might be the case, it's reasonable to conclude the universe must have a designer. So then you say yes, and hopefully they say yes as well. There are questions about that so far? Things we've said? We generally understand it. Design requires designer. Psalm 139:14, I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. So God's works are wonderful, and he made people in that way, as the psalmist describes. So it helps us understand that has to be the case. The Bible is claiming God made people, God made the universe, all that good stuff. All right. I think we'll stop there for today. Again, questions, thoughts about these things? All right. Keep them in your Bibles. Bring this back. You can keep your other one maybe somewhere else, but I gave you the second one so that you could go and take that. Or should I give you the second one later, another time? All right, that's fine. I just didn't know if somebody, we're missing a couple here tonight, but we're glad to see the rest of you here.